I was asleep before. That's how we let it happen. When they slaughtered Congress, we didn't wake up. When they blamed terrorists and suspended the Constitution, we didn't wake up then either. Now I'm awake. My name is Offred. I had another name.
Ladies, I have to let you go. It's the law now.
They needed to do it this way. All the bank accounts and the jobs all at the same time. You imagine the airports otherwise?
Run, run, run!
No, please don't take her. No!
You girls will serve the leaders and their barren wives. You will bear children for them.
There's an eye in your house.
I'll send you to the colonies. You'll be cleaning up toxic waste, and then you'll die.
Tonight is a celebration of Gilead and of what we have achieved.
We only wanted to make the world better.
Better.
Better never means better for everyone.
I want to keep on living for her.
Remember your scripture. Blessed are the meek.
And blessed are those who suffer for the cause of righteousness.
This woman is the best. Anne, thank you so much for being here. I'm such a fan of your work.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'm not gonna lie, the first time I really took notice of you was in the film Compliance in 2012. It's a movie that I love. But since that movie, when you show up in television shows or movies, I immediately go, Aunt Dowd's here, yes.
Oh, thank
I get
you.
very excited.
What a lovely thing to say. Thank you.
Now, in The Handmaid's Tale and The Leftovers, you are not the nicest people. And backstage, you are the nicest person. Where do you think it comes from that casting directors and producers are like, oh, this woman's a real hard ass. Get me Ann Dowd.
That's so funny. I don't know the answer, but I can tell you that the question I get asked is, where do you find such, whatever the word is, strength, for lack of a better word? There's a lot better words you might choose, like cruel or whatever. You know, with Lydia, let's say, I don't share her beliefs, you know, one would hope. I wouldn't. However, you know, when you're going to play a character, you stay away from judgment. You have to, don't you? Because it's like a relationship. So if you go in saying, you know what, you are the worst, there's no back and forth. So.
And you'll find no weakness in her either. You'll find no vulnerability to
Well, that's it. You
perform.
won't find the complete person. You'll only find the one you judge. So I was raised, I went to school with Catholic sisters all of my first 10 years of education. And I always hesitate to bring that up because nuns get a raw deal. You know, you think of the one with the ruler and they're going to knock you out and this and that. I did not have that experience. I have two aunts who are sisters as well. But what they share, I would say, with Lydia is an absolute devotion to the work they've been given. I think Lydia is all in terms of the Bible, and I think, you know, when someone is that attached to such a narrow way of looking at the world, and repression is the only way to control it, you've got to imagine some damage somewhere. I don't know how you arrive at such, if you've been given a fair shot at life, let us say. But she loves those girls. I said to Bruce Miller, who is our showrunner, you know, what do you think she did before Gilead? And he said she was probably a teacher. Made so much sense. Her whole life are the girls. She goes home to her dorm room. That's it. She knows that if she does not get that job done, if they don't realize this is what is expected of you and you had better get it, they're not going to survive. I think the challenge for her is that, of course, she becomes attached in a way. You think of Janine, you know, the girl who dares to say fuck to her in the course of 10 seconds. You know, that episode, she's just been pulled off the street. And Lydia realizes, oh, we're going to have to make an example here. She's not going to get it. And she's not going to live. She continues along. So it was paying attention to the part of her that I could relate to, which is full attention to the job at hand. I used to have experiences with one nun in particular who used to haunt me. my job was to sweep the classroom. And then I'd sweep it and I'd go down to basketball practice. She would come straight down, come out. Never harsh in the language. Come back up. You didn't do the job. Do it right. Do it again. Do it again. And I used to think, what in the world? I despised her. I thought, I cannot wait to somehow, let loose on her. And she'd say, you're not going to basketball practice. You're not getting the point here. Well, all year long, I wanted to take her in. But thankfully, at the end, I realized, oh my goodness, she taught me something so important, which is you are no different from anyone else. You're not special. You have a job to do, do it. And when it's done, then go about your business. Now, if you take away Lydia's ideology, but you give her that dynamic, then you've got to weigh in, meaning my job is to make sure you understand that I can teach you something that enhances the meaning in your life. And so that doesn't answer your question at all, because I don't know the answer about casting directors or why they would, I can tell you I'm thrilled about it.
It gives you a lot to chew on as an actress.
It really does. And Patti, I'll never get over that experience as long as I live. Because I never knew where she was going or what was happening. We got Damon is lovely. He doesn't ever, Damon Lindelof, he doesn't impose information. If you have, he doesn't tell you what is happening, but he will answer any question you have. I hope I'm not excluding you. You're all right over there, sorry. And so I remember something as simple as in the second season, I couldn't imagine what she was doing there or what she was. And
at that time she was sort of haunting him, right?
Well, haunting him, yes. And I said to Damon, is she trying to help him with his relationship with Nora? I mean, what's going on? Saying things like, I told you not to tell her, but you went and told her anyway. You're not listening, blah, blah. And he said, oh, no, she doesn't believe in relationships. Ding. Do you know what I'm saying? The consistency. She's there. She doesn't know why she's there. Last thing she knew, she was dead. She took care of it. Now she's back. She's trying to put it together.
Wait, what is she trying to put together? Because if she doesn't believe in relationships and she's sort of doing what she can to make Kevin feel bad about what he's doing in the relationship, it's almost nihilistic at this point. She's just trying to destroy more.
I think she's trying to wake him up. Because if you go to the third season, what does she do? She repays the favor. To me, the first season for Patti is, we know she was in a terrible marriage. And if you sign on to a terrible marriage and you stay, it seems to me you've had a history of terrible relationships. Parents, let's say. And so she's saying, something's going to happen. Something's going to happen. And the therapist is saying, no, it's your anxiety. No, your instincts are... Well, of course, she's right. Something does happen. So she comes into her, for the first time in her life, her strength, and realizing, oh, I am strong, and I will commit, and I'm also a born leader, and watch me. And so she commits fully to that, and she achieves what the guilty remnant wants. Ultimately, the goal is death, because the world's over, and let's stop the nonsense of pretending it isn't. So second season, why is she there? She doesn't know, but she ends up sitting next to him in a truck. And I think really in retrospect, that's what I love about this show. As you go back, you rethink it and you experience it differently. I do think she was there. She did antagonize him. He needed it. And she went on full impulse, full instinct. And as that season ends, I don't know if you have this in your life, but intimacy is hard to achieve, I think. I mean, I've been married for 32 years to my husband, whom I adore, and I keep plenty from him. Not even intentionally. Mm-hmm. It's just that unconscious, that's mine, and I don't even want to go there. Those two characters, it's kind of a love story in the sense that they see each other, the fear, where you're hiding. We're just present with it. So that's what that relationship is extraordinary in that sense.
Well, she knows that he feels similar to her, or knows what she knows, but is afraid of it, whereas she has confronted it and is kind of living with it.
She's one step ahead, it's possible to say. But then
We especially see that in your episode in the third season
Yeah,
as well. That's what that episode is really all about, is
Yep.
her being one step ahead of him
Right.
and pulling him along.
And returning the favor. Because once she releases that burden in the second season of, oh, I had a chance to leave the abuse and say no more. You may not treat me this way. And she doesn't do it. She doesn't take the opportunity after winning in Jeopardy. And she releases that burden of, look at what I chose to do. And once that burden is released, he helps her to depart, to go.
What did you think when Damon brought you on to The Leftovers and the first thing that you were probably told was that you're not going to be speaking? What did the pilot script of The Leftovers look like to you?
Well, I'm embarrassed to say, and I am.
You said no?
No, I read it and I said, what do you do? I look back on what this series taught me, quite honestly, on a number of levels. But I read it and I thought, what? What does this mean, departure? What's he talking about? No one's departing. No, not my thing. And there was silence on the other end of the phone. I have a rather smart manager and an agent who are lovely. They took a beat because that was such a dumb thing to say. So they went to this, because I literally said, I just don't understand it. I mean, I don't know, I'm just thick like that in the beginning. And my agent said, well, it's an HBO series shooting in New York. Why don't you give it another read? Subtext, get it together. Well, then I read it again and I thought, oh, this is very interesting. And the tug, because had I been paying attention on the first read, I'd have felt it because it's very powerful. Well, I'm in it 2 minutes and I'm all in. Something about that whole process was riveting, and the not talking. First I thought, well, how do you go about business? You're an actor, you wear the words. It's the best thing in the world, just passing that along. In our lives, if you are in a room and you do not speak, and you are still present in the room, and you know what you want, you will rule that room. Because nobody is comfortable with it. People are like, okay, what? And if you can that's what it taught me, hold your ground. Know what you want, and just wait until they get their act together. It's a tremendously powerful, I think, in life also.
Everyone always tries to fill empty space rather
That's
than
it.
just
How about
sort
an
of
elevator?
allowing
I
it.
do it. How are you? Isn't it a nice day today? It's like, Ann, shut up. You're in an elevator. Don't speak. You don't have to fill that.
Our cell phones have become wonderful tools in not having to fill that space.
Isn't that true?
Get into an elevator, oh, don't talk to me.
That's it. Yeah, I'm busy doing important things, ignoring you. Yeah, so that, and then when I had to speak, I was like, how do you do that? It was so great not to, Just, I don't know.
So, I have to ask, as I said, compliance was really my introduction to you as an actress, but you've been acting for a few years now,
Yeah.
right? What was your first role? Was like 86, 85, really?
Well, no, yeah. Right around there.
According to IMDb.
Yeah, I think that's probably true.
Does your career feel different in since compliance or
Very.
the last 5 or 6 years?
It feels very different. Aging is underrated. I'm looking around and you're all very young, so I don't know if that's going to land on you. But as you get older, you just let go of certain things because you're just tired of holding on And also having work just come. And I have to say, because it's new, offers. You try to be calm when someone says, they want you to do. What do you mean they want me to do? I'm not going in the room to beg. I'm kidding, beg. So that's just fun, wonderful, Yeah. And the roles are wonderful and full and challenging, and I kind of get them. Like compliance, people would say, well, how did you figure her out? I would say, well, it's all on the page. Yeah. He wrote that woman beautifully, and fortunately, I got it. Do you know what I'm saying? How you can have that connection in all of our work.
For those who don't know, Compliance was a wonderful film from 2012 directed by Craig Zobel, who's directed a fair amount of The Leftovers, and it's about a woman who is being prank called by a man who's pretending to be the police and is saying that
It's in a fast food restaurant that I'm managing.
One of her employers has stolen, and that she needs to consistently kind of search her, and it progresses and progresses to levels of humiliation and degradation for the woman, but it's all about power for the guy on the other end of the line, and about how much Anne's character is willing to compliance with someone who purports to be an authoritative figure.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you
it's an amazing performance by I mean
thank
everybody
you.
in the film, but specifically Anne.
Thank you, thank you. I guess the point being, when you've given a role that you understand, you know, all of us, I don't exclude men from this, but for women, we learn pretty early that we are considered in some regards, in some context, as second-class citizens. We're accustomed to what that feels like. Doesn't mean we. So understanding, you know, if you grow up in a home and you're taught, your opinion is worthless. Don't, quiet. You know, I don't know, you have what, you have one friend? No, I don't want to hear from you. Do you know what I mean? If you're always taught that whatever you have to say, your instincts as a child are just repress, you lose that agency. And so I think that's what was going on in compliance with her. She just had no realization that no is a complete sentence.
She's a vulnerable person. I mean,
Very.
she's a woman who manages a fast food restaurant. Who knows what stage of life, you know, this is for her in terms of like this chance and what this chance
Right.
is and where she was before.
And the fact that she's managing it and she's doing it well, and suddenly this detective calls in the middle of rush hour. And the thing about how he could read one's vulnerability, and he could assess her, he was a genius in that way. Knew exactly when to put this platform in and this question and go to the next level of abuse and degradation. And
When that movie, I guess for lack of a better word, took off, because I wouldn't necessarily say it took off, but it
Right.
got critical praise and
Yes.
it got some notice. Did you start feeling like you were getting more offers and sort of people were seeing it inside the industry for?
Well, it did make a big difference. That was certainly a jumping off point. You know, when you're working, it's the last thing you think about. You're just trying to get the film made, and we made it in a short period of time. And
Shot that in like 15, 17
yeah,
days, right?
And you think, well, you don't even consider how it will be received. At least I didn't. And so when it was received well, and I got some attention for it, and then things began to move forward, that's a great thing. We all hope for that, don't we, in our lives? Someone just sees something that made sense to you, that you did your best in, and they say, yeah, that wasn't bad. Come along. Now here's this. I think that's just, you know.
When it got to The Handmaid's Tale, you know, you talk about what this woman in the fast food restaurant, what she may have repressed or holding in. Do you see Lydia as a woman who has a lot of repression, that she's holding a lot back, and that's where a fair amount of the ideology comes from?
I think so. I think if you cling so hard to that narrow viewpoint, and what people far to the right do with religion, baffling to me. That need to know it's this way or no way. I think she probably I thought she maybe taught in a girls' school, you know, and just saw the promiscuity and the outfits with the cleavage. I think she was shamed. Listen, growing up I had a loving home, Catholic, and we were taught that our body was the temple of the Holy Spirit. Try having sex with that on your mind. You know what I'm saying? When you're a teenager, you're like, yeah, oh no, I'm a slut. You know, you're just dying because you think I'm just the worst person in the world. But boy, do I want to just have this experience. You know, if you're someone who can't say, that's messed up. I remember saying to my father, and I'm not kidding, who was the loveliest guy in the world, I don't get this premarital sex problem. If you don't have sex before you get married, you're going to get married to have sex. You know, you're not going to even know if you like the guy. You're going to be so obsessed with your you know, what's the sense in that? That's like a recipe for disaster. And he was literally looking at me, and he was trying his best to find something he could accept.
It's like, don't you dare talk about my wedding night.
Yeah, that's great. I didn't even think of that one. But I remember him going, well, I love that you are thinking. I swear to God, using your brain. But then he said, but you may not have that opinion. Catholic, very Catholic. Now, if I were someone like Sandra in compliance, I would have said, you're absolutely right. Or maybe Lydia. Shame on you, you gross, dirty, because you take the anti-sex pill when you're raised in a strictly, you know what I'm saying? It's like sex becomes, and I think somebody got hold of her early. Maybe she was one of those rebels, and it brought her to just nothing, hurt that she could not manage, just could not manage. Or maybe she lost a baby. maybe, but it begs that question, doesn't it? Because to see how much she loves them, and those are her girls, and the ones that she's damaged, imagine taking the eye out of someone, or using the prod or whatever it is. I think she says this has got to happen, otherwise you won't survive. And then she keeps an eye on him, like watching, okay, Janine's not stable. That girl needs some severe shepherding. I've got to keep my eye on her.
It's so interesting because I feel like the audience, or as an audience member, we do not view your character as someone that is, taking care of we see her as a sadist. But I think it's impossible for you to go in and just to play a sadist. You have to find a way to think of her as someone who maybe while committing these vicious acts is doing them out of love and protection.
Yeah, well, I never thought of it otherwise. And I didn't, you know how it is sometimes if you're just lying to yourself about a character and that character is just plain old harsh, it'll jump up and say, you're lying. But I never felt that in that, meaning I felt she did care tremendously. And also there's the afterlife, like you wonder about what's going on in the world. The terrorists, you think, what are you doing? What do you think's going to happen if you destroy all these people? Well, in the next life, there's going to be this and that and that. If you have nothing to lose, those are the people that are most dangerous, because they will always one-up you, And I think somewhere in that woman is, look, I've been to the bottom of the heap. I've got Jesus, and I've got my faith, and I will pursue the way I have to, and nothing will stop me. Did you ever see Dowd?
Yeah.
How great. Okay. Had the pleasure of playing that role. And here's that woman who, she lost a husband. If she had been given her own choices as a nun, she probably would have been a gardener, solitary, fixing, she's not a social person. Nothing in her is social. She was given the job. And like Lydia, she is duty-bound. She has an extraordinary work ethic. And no matter what, my job is to protect these children. That priest is a creep. I know he is, and that's all there is to it. But she has the profound experience of doubt, which just shatters that small world and starts her life over again. There's hope for her. Sandra, in real life, that poor woman, this is compliance. She was on 20/20, and I could see in her eyes, if something happens that is catastrophic in your life and you realize I participated in the demise and the degradation of a human being, and I was in charge of that, meaning I opened all those doors every time, you got to have a breakdown, which would be your first perfect choice in your life, to say, you know what, I am lost. I don't know how I got here. I don't know how I participated in this, but I did. Or you go the other way and you say, no, what are you talking about? You would have done the same thing. If I had to do over, do the same thing. He was a detective. I had to follow orders, and that's that. That's the position she took. You do the same. She could not let that armor down that said, I lost it.
Well, do not dig underneath the surface.
Don't go any further.
Exactly.
I wonder what happens to Lydia, because did you all see the end? 10th episode, maybe not. Oh, well, I won't swear. Something happens that just says, wait a second, what world am I in?
Well, but it's a common occurrence, not just in situations of high stress or where someone gets degraded or humiliated, where people don't look underneath the surface and connect the dots. It's quite regularly in people's lives on a daily basis. It's the way that we buy certain foods or from certain places, or use products from certain places that we know in many ways are connected to terrorism or other sort of bad elements in the world. But we have a disconnect, and we refuse to sort of go underneath. You would do the same thing.
Yeah.
You would buy the same thing.
If you were in my shoes, it would happen. So don't tell me.
It's a defense mechanism that we all have.
We do. Yeah. And sometimes it really holds on. This whole notion of being present, if I hear it one more time, you think, leave me alone. Staying in the moment, all of those things. I once had I have a form of stage fright, don't we all, to some degree. And I was doing a Broadway play, and it was so bad, I thought to myself, I don't know how I'm going to get through this run. 8 times a week for 4 months, I don't know what I'm going to do. I was desperate. And the subject matter was grim. So I tried everything, and at one point, out of sheer desperation, I started to meditate. And it didn't take much. And the next thing I know, I'd have parts of the day when I was actually present. And can I tell you, it's like being in the fun house. Life was so extraordinary. I'm just sitting there on my balcony looking at a brick, but I was actually there. I'd be like, and then I went to see The English Patient. Remember that film? And I happened to have that period of maybe 90 minutes of presence, because it would come and go in the day. I kept looking around saying, is anyone else experiencing this? I literally felt like I was high.
In The English Patient, anybody? Please?
Yeah. How y'all doing? Isn't this remarkable? I mean, and God forbid I should continue it, because I said to myself after that, you know the way in, girl. And the answers are right in there. And when you are present, you can handle anything because you have all that you need in the present moment. I'm not pushing anything here, hear me on that. But I just thought to myself, wow. So what's my point? Those defenses dissolve in the moment because you don't need them. I used to teach acting, which I love so much. I'm fortunately working a schedule that doesn't allow for it. But, they're young and so sweet. And you want to say, darlings, you don't need protection. You don't need a defense saying, I'll get through this business. No, let it all go. You're an actor. You will get the help you need. Drop that armor every day. Hit me. I'm an actor. Hit me. Go for it. I can go those places. I'm safe. I had those things in childhood that said, you need this defense, you need it. And we did, didn't we? If we didn't have an adult aware. But we don't need them now. We're getting through. Anyway, I'm not sure where I'm going here, but you get
No, I like it. I like it.
You know what I mean?
Before I turn it over to the audience, I have a quick question for you. As I said, discovering you in 2012, and you've been acting for a few years. But before that, is there a part in your career that you would recommend as something before people really took notice of you that you just love doing, and it's a great piece of work? Because looking through your IMDb, you were in movies that I've seen, like you were in Philadelphia, and incredible roles throughout your career.
So lovely.
Is there something that you remember, like, oh, I wish they knew me then as much as they know me now, so that people recognize that part as much as I wish they had?
I would think that only if perhaps maybe in the theater. Because I was lucky very early on to play a role in a play called A Different Moon. And this was an adult with disabilities, let us say. And I knew her like I just loved her so. And going into her world day after day, and I was just, as I say, that's a fair amount of luck. Because in the course of my career, I look at young actors now with large roles and a lot of responsibility, doing them beautifully. I could never have done it at their age. No. I'm fortunate because I didn't have the, I had courage, but I didn't know how to put it into practice. So there was a fair amount of fear. And so that's what's been left behind as I've gotten older. She's like, what are you holding on to, girl? What's the problem here? Come on now. Let it go. Let it go. And each job allows you to do that in a different way. That's why I love theater so much, because you got to square off with it. Fear, You have to, I don't even know if we have time for this, but I remember doing another play, and that stage fright came back. I thought, no, I can't go through this again. Someone said, I know a healer. We were in Los Angeles. Way to go, love it. Or it was Southern California, let us say. And so I went to this healer, and she was a woman who lived in Burbank. She'd never been to the theater in her life, ever. She just had a gift, and her gift was reading your guides that we come into the world with, which I didn't know. And so I walked into her home. I had my little girl with me, and my son was home in New York. He's a child, or now an adult with special needs. I walked into her home in Burbank, and she said, whoa, what's the fear? Whoa, what's going on? She didn't even know why I was there. I just had an appointment. And she said, where's your other child? And he has disabilities. Where's he? So the way she did it was, you're me. She said, tell me why you're here. And I said, well, I've just got this fear. And she said, okay. Oh, yeah, so she's talking to my guides that are not visible. So you have fear. She said, are you sure? Okay. She kept asking for new ways of saying, because she didn't know the language. So she said, oh, they're saying that you are trying to control the audience. And you want them to like you. And you are holding on, you're holding on so hard to their, that you're not, that you're not receiving the help that's all around you. It is all around you, and you are, okay. All right, I think that, then I said, well, what do I do? They're saying you're experiencing on a trauma level, that now you've held on so long to warning them that you've got, they said go to a basic acting class where the stakes? Yeah, the stakes are lower, and gradually, I swear to God, and everything she said was true. I said, well, is there anything else? I'm waiting for the prescription, do this 5 times a day and you're, so I said, is there anything else? I felt like saying, do I have to square off with my fear? No, I don't want to do that. I want you to fix it. So anyway, she said, hold on. Oh yeah, they said to do yoga, to try yoga. And I said, what, 5 times a day or 5 times a week or what do you? And she then burst out laughing. She said, they asked me to tell you it's not a race. That's how I would describe my career in that way, realizing, okay, got a little road to go here, and it's going to take time. And we're going to approach it as best we can. In the meantime, live your life. Hope for the best. I have a fair amount of denial, meaning I will not consider giving up. It's just not what I'm here for. I'm an actor. That's what I want to do. And the world will give us that. Anyway.
Let's get some questions.
Sorry to go on.
Audience. Oh, no, that was great. Who has a question right here?
Hey, Anne. So I was wondering, so for Handmaid's Tale, had you read the novel beforehand? And
I had read it. I read it in college, and then got the script, and then read the novel again immediately. Yes.
Do you read other people's lines before, or do you do any preparation before going into a role to get into the character?
Well, yeah. The thing is, you read the material. Ask yourself, what does she want? What is she after here? What's in her way? What is she going to do to get what she wants? Those basic questions, and then learn the lines, gradually, so they become part of you rather than up here, So yeah, there's a fair amount of preparation if you're doing it right, I think.
Next question.
Hi. We touched on this a little bit, but what's most powerful about your performance as Aunt Lydia is that even when you're orchestrating the torture and oppression, there's that glimmer in your voice or eyes of a bit of compassion or just that nurturing, even though it's
twisted.
It's twisted, but it's still there. Like you see that her intentions are somehow good, for lack of better words, or there's something in her that thinks she's doing good for these girls. How do you find that line of keeping that just under the surface of?
I just appreciate your saying that so much, because that's the hope. That the reason that any of this torture is going on is for their betterment, so that this does not ever happen again. Do not think you can try to escape, harm another aunt, and think you are ever going to get out of here. You're never going to. Please learn that now before you're dead. It's just never going to work for you. And my job is to make sure you understand it. I don't want to hurt you, honey, but you're not getting it. If that. But I appreciate your saying.
So she's not a sadist.
No, I don't honestly think so. I don't think so. I do think, if she were to step out of that world and somehow wake up, I think she would be appalled at her choices. I mean, how can you imagine hurting a person like that? Even hitting a child. What? I shouldn't. I have a young child, African American. We adopted him, and his former foster mother used to say to me, he is going to walk all over you. You cannot say sweetie to him, love. No. It's just a different way of approaching it. She said, he is going to. I said, well, you can only parent the way you can parent. Do you know what I'm saying? If you're not going to, I think Lydia, if she had a chance, I don't know.
When did you adopt your child, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, not at all. He was my foster son at 9 months old. He had 7 homes in first 6 years of his life. Just sit with that for a minute. And we finally got him back when he was 6. And he's now 12. And so we were able to adopt him when he was 9. It's a long, long, long process. But here he is.
How's he doing?
He's okay. He's gone through some very hard times. He has, he loves his mother, and she loves him. She's not able. And the remarkable thing about all of this, because it's very challenging, is that there can be no blame. Because she herself, trauma, a form of mental illness that's not diagnosed, therefore not treated, loves her son, can't manage it. He loves her, so he has great, he feels he's betraying her by loving us, you know? It's very complicated for a kid, for anybody. But he's coming along. He really is. He's beautiful and strong, stronger than, his name is Trust, imagine. Is that amazing? Yeah.
I think we have time for one more question.
Hi, and thank you for being here. So I just want to know, this must be such an intense role to play. How do you kind of dive into it, and what's the hardest thing about diving into this world of The Handmaid's Tale?
Well, you know, when you're on a set and you know you're going to be there for 16 hours, trust me, you just find a way to like, okay, we're gonna make this work. What I loved and what helped me to get into it a lot was that a lot of extras, you know, handmaids, tons, right? And they don't even know what they signed up for. So my great pleasure was letting them know. By that I mean when we're sitting in a classroom, these are not scripted lines and they will not appear, obviously, in the show. But I would be able to scare the wits out of them. Because they had to get the drill. Don't you look away. Are you, what's your name? You in the yellow. They'd be like, you know, really trying to get them to just say, you look away from me. Try it again. And they'd be just, you know, and it was, I mean, then you're nice to them, and so you realize, honey, we're playing here. We're just trying to all get on the same page. So you always find ways in. It's tremendous. Yeah, it was a blast.
Harass the extras.
Harass. Put your head up. Okay. Or you know, if their shoe was hanging, they'd dangle their leg. I'd give it a little kick. Not hard, but they'd be just like, okay, where am I? And I'm only getting $100 a day. Get me out. I don't know that they actually said that, but they were delicious. You know?
A lot of extras walking around with good stories about Aunt Dowd,
Oh,
I
yeah,
bet.
I'm sure. They're like, that woman needs to be, you know, oh, it was great fun.
Because extras love telling stories about the actors.
Yeah, it's all going to come back to bite me. But then, like Lydia.
I worked with her.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you remember her? She can't, you know, she is one nutcase. But also just letting them know and then being very loving toward them, you know. And so then they didn't know what planet they were on. But that was a great way in, you know, because you got to, even on compliance, people said, was it grim? Hell no. You can't stay with grim if you're playing grim. Do you know what I'm saying? You got to find a way to say, okay, this is, and this is make-believe. That's our job, lucky us. Do you know what I mean? We are not those people. We are pretending to be those people. It's make-believe. I mean, with respect, I say that, you know. I don't say it in a dismissive way.
Well, Anne, it's been absolutely wonderful talking to you.
Thank you so much.
Of course, The Handmaid's Tale is on Hulu now. All episodes are on Hulu, I believe. And The Leftovers just wrapped up a couple weeks ago, but all the episodes are on HBO
Yes,
Go
they are.
for people to go check out. It's such a great show. Ann Dowd, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.